When my daughter stood before the judge, she didn't look at me, just whispered, "You ruined everything, Mom." I didn't flinch. I'd spent too many years being quiet while others rewrote my truth. That morning, I let the paper speak for me. The verdict wasn't revenge, it was release. I parked beneath the magnolia trees, their waxy leaves shining like green glass under the May sun. The air felt heavy with that Charleston humidity that never quite lets you breathe all the way in. A jazz trio drifted up from the riverfront, lazy and sweet. I smoothed the navy wrap around my shoulders, checked my gloves, and whispered to myself, "Watch, don't bite." That's something my late husband used to say when tempers brewed at family gatherings. I took one steady breath, straightened my back, and walked toward the ballroom, heels clicking soft against the brick. The valet, an older man with a kind face, nodded. "Evening, ma'am," he said, in that low-country drawl that makes everything sound gentle. I smiled, handed him a folded bill, and stepped under the canopy where guests in pastel suits laughed over champagne. A few women turned their heads, eyes scanning my outfit as if measuring the fabric against their approval. I reminded myself that I'd paid for most of this glitter. Quietly, of course, but no one here needed to know that yet. Inside the entryway, Garnet Lovell, the venue manager, approached me with polite confusion. "Ma'am, may I see your wristband?" she asked softly, tablet in hand. I blinked, thinking she was joking. "I have an invitation," I said, showing her the text message on my phone, my name in gold letters. She tapped her screen, frowned, and said, "I'm sorry, Miss Marchand, but your name isn't on the guest list." Then came the voice I knew too well, smooth, practiced, pretending kindness. "I'm sorry, you weren't invited. Please go." Sable stood there, elegant in silk, every inch the perfect bride, except for the way her words sliced. Her fiancé, Reeve, hovered behind her, whispering, "Let's keep the aesthetic." I stared at them, steady. "I came to see you smile, not to be seen," I said. That old Southern civility rolled off my tongue like armor. I turned my head and caught the seating chart under glass. Mother of the bride wasn't there. Instead, a dainty label read "Legacy Chair, empty." They'd styled my absence like an art piece. The same way they'd laughed at the rehearsal dinner when I'd offered to speak. "Let's keep the program clean," they'd said. It hit me then. This wasn't a mistake. It was design. I whispered, "No mother?" Garnet gave a professional sigh. Per client styling. I folded the paper program in half, hearing the crisp snap like a small bone breaking. Around me, guests passed without pause. One woman smiled and said, "Bless your heart." The softest curse in Dixie. I kept my head high. I'd buried a husband, raised a daughter, built a business. I wasn't about to crumble at a ballroom door. My late husband's ring sat in my purse, the one thing that had seen every season of my strength. I thanked Garnet, quietly. "You're just doing your job," I told her, and she nodded, eyes kind but tired from watching families implode. Outside. I walked beneath the magnolias again. Their petals clapped together like gentle applause, though I knew it wasn't for me. I reached my car and sat there in silence, fingers tracing the steering wheel where a small scar remained, a reminder from when I'd taught Sable to drive at 16. My phone buzzed with photos, her smiling under lights I had paid for, tagged "Yakomant's family love." I opened my email and saw the subject line I'd been avoiding. Confirmation, Power 7.2, discreet sponsor, consent required. I smiled, a calm, knowing smile. "If they lock the door on me," I whispered, "I'll lock the checkbook on them." Then I tapped open the thread. I kept my chin up as I thanked Garnet for keeping things running smooth. That's what you say when the air's thick with judgment and you refuse to give anyone a show. My sedan pulled forward, familiar and quiet, seat memory sliding me back into my rightful place. The gospel station hummed low. Mahalia's voice reminded me what grace sounded like. A couple of guests watched from the window, their eyes hungry for scandal. I wasn't feeding the gators tonight. Purse check, phone, reading glasses, velvet box, water bottle, everything still mine. I took a sip, reset my breath, and whispered, "We don't chase closed doors. We close our books." My late husband's words, steady as scripture, turn signal clicked. I eased onto the river road, where magnolia shadows stretched long and forgiving. A few blocks down, I pulled into a public lot facing the water. Boats drifted like they had no deadlines, cicadas warming up their evening chorus. I ran through the day in my head. Hair appointment. The hem I had fixed this morning. That little cash tip I'd slipped to the florist. Every act had been for peace, not pride. I remembered a saying from the ladies' circle at church. If you can't speak kindly, wait till Monday. I smiled faintly. Tonight, I'd wait, but with proof. I opened my glove box. Tissues, pen, notebook, all in their ritual order. Widow habits, tidy as accounting ledgers. My phone buzzed. "You there yet?" A text from Lorraine, so I typed. "Yes, all good," then erased it. No gossip tonight. The car became my office, my courtroom, my quiet. I raised the screen brightness and searched my inbox. Vera Linnell and Magnolia. The thread unfolded like a map of deceit. There it was. 7.2, discreet sponsor consent required. My pulse steadied. Attached files. Budgets, deposits, styling notes. There it was in plain English. Verbal sponsor consent at event check-in. So they had built the gate and hidden the key. I highlighted the clause twice, forwarded it to my archive, added one line, "Keep this warm." Old reflexes from years of running a family business. I flagged payments scheduled after midnight. Timing was everything in finance and in revenge. Then came Vera's mood board. Minimalist seating, clean lines, no speeches. And that line, legacy chair empty. I stared at it until my screen dimmed. They'd turned absence into decor. I annotated in my notes app, euphemism isn't consent. My thumb shook once, then stilled. I whispered, "Lord, keep me gentle and exact." My late husband used to say a calm mind cuts sharper than anger ever could. I thought of calling Sable, but stopped. A mother arguing with her grown child in public only feeds the crowd. Instead, I drafted a polite message to Garnet. "Please verify your sponsor check-in protocol," and saved it unsent. I composed another to Vera, requesting the vendor ledger, then paused. Patience would expose more than pressure. The river's slow lap against the embankment filled the silence. I let it walk my temper around the block before I spoke again. I opened my notebook, wrote 3 lines, no drama, no threats, documents only. My daddy's voice echoed, "Don't raise your voice, raise your paperwork." Charleston men had a way of making wisdom sound like weather, inevitable. I checked my banking app. Every vendor payment matched the schedule in Vera's thread. I smiled slightly. "Money talks," I murmured. "But only if you make it speak your language." One last time. I glanced at Sable's public feed. Paid for by Family Love. No mention of which family. I captured the post without bitterness. Truth keeps better than anger. I slid the velvet box into the glove box. Symbol laid to rest, no ceremony needed. I sorted every screenshot, every thread into a new folder. Wedding, consent, funds. The sky deepened from gold to indigo. the river breathing slow beneath it. I reopened. 7.2, reading my own name in the fine print. If a room deletes the mother, I said softly, the money deletes the music. My thumb hovered over a familiar contact, the man who'd helped me structure my estate. I didn't need introductions, just timing. I lined up screenshots, starred key lines, and set a 15-minute timer. Through the cracked window, the magnolias rustled their approval. I felt no rage, only precision. I won't argue with the child, I whispered. I'll have a word with the ledger. I enlarged the clause until the letters nearly filled my phone screen. Verbal sponsor consent, revocation, funds unsettled. I mouthed each word like a prayer. The timestamp said 11:43 p.m., close enough to midnight to matter. Midnight always changes leverage. My late husband used to call it the hour the books talk back. I underlined every vendor that needed a sponsor's voice instead of a planner's email. That was my lane, not theirs. I opened my notebook across the steering wheel and wrote 3 lines. No drama, no threats, documents only. My hands felt steady. I sipped water, turned the AC down a notch, adjusted my knee brace. I wasn't calling Sable. I was calling the people who kept lights on and bills paid. Ephraim Colburn answered on the second ring. His voice was calm as courthouse marble. Evening, Ms. Marchand. Evening, Ephraim. I'm referencing clause fiber 7.2 in the Magnolia Event Ledger, I said. He listened without interrupting while I laid out the vendor list and the after-midnight deposit schedule. Yes, ma'am, he said finally. That'll hold. Let's verify your identity. We moved through the questions like a waltz. Last 4 digits, safe word, prior wire date. Nothing hurried. I'd like a temporary revocation of sponsor consent for tonight's batch, I said. No fun destruction, just a lawful pause. There'll be vendor callbacks, he warned. That's the point, I replied. Let the system speak its truth. He keyed the event flag, confirmed a soft freeze, and gave me a reference number. I wrote it twice, neat and square. He patched me through to the event's authorization line. A new rep came on, brisk and careful. Please state the clause action. I spoke evenly. I, Drusilla Marchand. Withdraw sponsor consent under Faber 7.2 for Magnolia event deposits. Confirmed, she repeated. Family sponsor. Correction, I said, gentle but firm. Sponsor of record. Words matter. She read the confirmation back. I requested the timestamp and copies sent to both my accounts. Expect venue verification, I added. Authenticate me again when they call. Yes, ma'am. Before hanging up, I said, if they close the door on the mother, the ledger closes the music. I let the silence log it. The line clicked off. My phone felt lighter, like a wrench finally seated into its socket. Next came the dominoes. I opened my email, typed to Vera Linnell. Please provide final vendor ledger and voice authorization tree per FRERU 7.2. Time sensitive. I blind copied my archive, reference number in the subject. A second note to Garnet Lovell. If the system flags tonight, it's compliance, not chaos. Protect your staff. I listed each vendor. Venue 24/7, catering till 9. Band on call, photographer text only. I set a 10-minute timer. A woman who's kept a household running knows timing is half of order. The velvet box in my glove compartment stayed locked. Some ceremonies deserve postponement. My phone buzzed again, a photo of Sable's bouquet, captioned Perfect Night. No mom. I typed proud of you, then deleted it. Love doesn't audition. I saved her post to my evidence folder, not out of spite, but to keep memory honest. I whispered, you taught her envelopes, rent, lights, groceries, dignity. Tonight. You keep the last one. The streetlight flickered across the dash. Cicadas stitched the night together. I waited for the system to echo back. Then, it did. An unknown number lit the screen. Magnolia Riverfront Ballroom Management. The caller ID read. I answered with my full name ready. Reference number on my tongue. Ms. Marchand, the voice said tightly. We've received a sponsor withdrawal notice linked to tonight's event. We need verbal confirmation from the sponsor of record. You're speaking to her, I said. Voice level as fresh concrete. Before the band hits its second set, we're going to read Fire 7.2 together. The ballroom manager's voice was tight but polite. Ms. Marchand, we've connected you with finance for verification. I answered steady. Drusilla Marchand, sponsor of record. A soft shuffle of papers came through the speaker. Please open your vendor packet, I said, calm as Sunday morning. Page 3, clause 7.2, voice consent required. They found it. I read my reference number from Ephraim, each digit deliberate. Yes, ma'am, finance confirmed. Soft freeze noted, batches unsettled. I could hear phones clicking, someone breathing fast. Let's read it together, I told them. Slow and clear. This is a revocation for tonight only. Accuracy matters. The manager exhaled, said they'd have to notify operations. Do that, but treat your staff kindly. I added, no one in black aprons caused this mess. Things moved quick after that. Finance flagged catering guarantees. By clause, service paused until replacement funds appeared. Compliant, I said. Lighting lead asked for status. I authorized the overtime freeze. The band texted through the manager, set or standby, and got standby. The equipment stayed packed. Cords coiled like patience. Photographer wanted direction. I approved pre-ceremony candids only. Every action, I wrote in my notebook, time, initials, result. I wasn't torching the wedding. I was balancing the math. Security's still on site? I asked. Yes, ma'am. The manager said. 2 hall monitors at each door. Good, I said. People behave better when order has eyes. Then came the hard truth. The bride's family insisted their side were the sponsors. Manager asked permission to clarify. Go ahead, I told him. State it as fact, not gossip. The sponsor of record is the groom's mother, Drusilla Marchand. My name sounded clean over the static, steady as a signature. I heard him repeat it for the log, time-stamped. No speeches, no confrontation, just truth entered into record. Then the air on the line went still. Rustling papers, whispered shock. I said, if policy requires public notice, keep it procedural. Words only. The PA chimed. The manager's voice carried, even and official. Due to funding irregularities, tonight's services are suspended pending resolution. We appreciate your patience. Behind him came the soft chaos of surprise. Forks dropped. Someone gasped. A chair scraped. Any trouble with staff? I asked. Some guests yelling. Nothing worse. Security's containing it. Good. Wrap perishables. Protect inventory, I said. Compliance keeps paychecks safe. A bridesmaid shouted something about names. The manager simply repeated the script. I smiled faintly. Order held. Send me a full report by morning, I said. I'll sign nothing tonight but my dignity. My phone buzzed again. Sable, twice. I let it ring. Speakerphone arguments are for porches, not mothers. Her text followed. Mom, what did you do? I archived it under no response required. I typed a draft I'd never send. When a room deletes a mother, the account deletes the music. Then deleted that too. Discipline means doing less than you want and more than you should. If she comes looking, I told the manager, give her a quiet place, no crowd, just truth. I sipped my water, watched river lights blink steady, every pulse a reminder that patience is not weakness. Then a new voice entered the call, smooth as ribbon, sharp as a pin. "Miss Marchand," Vera Linnell purred. "Surely we can handle this discreetly. Ms. Linnell," I said. "Discretion is honoring the document you drafted," she countered. "There are reputational risks here," I replied. "Reputation is what you do when no one's watching." There was a pause. Brief, brittle. "You'll have your ledger," I said, "within 5 minutes, or the cascade finishes what it started." Vera called back, smoother than honey, left too long in the sun. "Mrs. Marchand, we both know this can stay private if you simply reinstate the funds." Her tone was syrup over threat. "Otherwise, donors will believe you humiliated your daughter." I leaned back in my seat, the river lights flickering through my windshield. "Is that so?" She went on about vendor hardship, press statements, meme Coriste, and a mother's misunderstanding. I told her to open her inbox. "I've sent you screenshots of Clause Fiber 7.2 and the bank's event flag. Discretion isn't covering lies, it's keeping your paperwork honest." She tried sentiment next. "Think of your daughter," I replied. "I am. That's why I'm reading contracts, not fairy tales." Her silence broke for one sharp breath. 5 minutes, I said, for the full ledger. After that, I call Consumer Affairs. I ended the call, the click sounding like judgment itself. Seconds later, my phone buzzed again. This time, social media notifications stacking like dominoes. Sable had gone live. "My mother ruined my wedding." Her voice trembled through the speaker. Thousands watched. The chat scrolled fast, bitter, jealous, controlling. I didn't listen long. I took screenshots, timestamp, viewer count, caption, evidence folder, Sable, live. I set the phone down, face to the console, heart steady. Garnet texted, "You okay? Ms. D." I answered. "Don't defend me online, I'm protect the staff. Log every minute." He wrote back one word, "Copy." Through the call feed, I caught the muffled sound of a bridesmaid yelling, camera in hand, while an usher barked, "No filming the crew!" I rolled down my window an inch. The night air carried salt and saxophone. I breathed in 4 counts, out 6. "Lord," I whispered, "let my calm outlast her noise." Then Garnet's name lit the screen again. His voice trembled at first. Security stopped me. They said someone accused me of misusing sponsor funds. My stomach didn't drop. It hardened. "Who?" I asked. "Planner's assistant and a bridesman," I told him. "You're not arguing in hallways. Bring your purchase orders, delivery logs, and payroll sheets straight to the manager. Let the papers speak." He hesitated. "They said I looked nervous." "That's because you care," I said softly. "Now stand on the facts." I patched in Leif Hardison from management, citing harassment and defamation exposure. Leif agreed to a private review. "Document the accuser's names, times, and words," I instructed. Garnet's breathing evened. "Thank you, ma'am," he said, voice steady again. "Facts walk on 2 legs, paper and time," I reminded him. The vibration hit next. Vera's Vendor Master Final PDF. I opened it under the dim dashboard light. Line items neat until the phrase discretionary ambiance upgrades. Uplighting. Signature wall. Drone teaser. Not one of them pre-approved. Totals padded. My pen circled each irregularity, neat as ledger ink. Her own signature stamped a new expedite fee, dated tonight, trying to slide through after midnight. I forwarded it to Leif and Garnet with the subject, unauthorized scope. Hold these. Ephraim got the copy, too. I wrote back to Vera, ledger received, revocation stands, provide refund schedule. Then in my notebook, They didn't plan a wedding. They staged a performance and hoped the mother would blink. I composed my memorandum next. Short, firm sentences. Timeline, clauses, staff protection, CC to City Consumer Affairs, no adjectives, just law. I added a note about perishable food, feed staff, not dumpsters. I saved Sable's live stream to my private archive. Family cuts deepest when the knife's online. I texted Garnet, "You're covered." The velvet box in my purse pressed cool against my palm. Endure. The engraving gleamed faintly in the car light. I whispered, "It's not patience. It's principle." Then Leif's call came low and tense. Bride's mother and 2 groomsmen want a public walk back. They're demanding your name over the PA. I smiled without warmth. Policy language only. If they want to talk, it happens off camera. Ledger open. Another text flashed from an unknown number. "You'll regret this. We know people." Screenshot. Saved. Threat 9:36 p.m. Then, through the phone line, I heard chairs scraping, voices rising. Leif murmured, "They're in the office." I straightened my blouse, squared my shoulders, and whispered to myself, "All right then, let's finish the math." The door clicked shut behind us, sealing in the tension like heat in a cast-iron pan. Leif Hardison sat at the head of the table, his clipboard stacked with incident forms. Vera Linnell perched opposite me, smile too polished, her assistant pretending to type but really watching for cracks. I laid my printed memo between us, crisp and ready. "We're here to confirm sponsor revocation, vendor protections, and compliance with Clause Paragraph 7.2 and Paragraph 11.4, I said. My tone stayed level. Vera spoke about a misunderstanding, her fingers tracing the ledger edge. "Grace goes both ways," I replied, sliding a page marked with time-stamped anomalies. Leif's typing filled the silence, the tap of truth against wood. I requested an entry for Garnet Lovell's harassment report, witness names, times, direct quotes. He began typing before I finished. "And the perishables," I added. "Feed the staff, not the dumpsters." A housekeeping supervisor joined on speaker, voice humble and ready. In my head, I prayed the same line I've used since widowhood. Protect the ones who work. I noted the clock. This meeting would end before it turned into theater. Then the phone buzzed again. "Unknown number. You'll regret this. We know people." Screenshot. Forwarded to Leif and hotel security. A second text followed. "Undo it now, or your name goes everywhere." I added Ephraim Colburn to the chain, noting threat 9:46 p.m. Leif's radio crackled. 2 groomsmen at the service door demanding my ID. "They don't belong there," I said flatly. He dispatched security before I blinked. "This is a financial matter, not a hostage situation," I told the room. "The door stays shut," Vera whispered. "They're upset." I looked her square in the eye. "Upset doesn't outrank policy." I wrote it down. "Threat documented, boundary, holds." I've learned, if you don't write it, it didn't happen. Vera tried one last pivot, all perfume and poise. "Mrs. Marchand, let me draft a statement. Call it a systems glitch. We'll preserve the family's dignity if you just reauthorize partial funds." I opened her own ledger and pointed at the padded entries. Uplighting, drone teaser, rush fees, all stamped tonight. "Not pre-approved, not mine," I said. The junior accountant's eyes flicked to Leif, then back to the total that matched my note. I recited every figure from memory, years of balancing both home and company accounts turning into armor. "Option 1, I said, refund vendors quietly and take care of your staff. Option 2, I bring in city permits and consumer affairs." Her pen froze midair. Finally, she nodded toward the first. "Good," I said. "Then let's do it clean. No adjectives, just facts." I dictated each line, clear as courtroom glass. When the words matched the truth, I signed the margin. From the hall, the hotel's PA tone rose, a single bell echoing through the walls. Leaf looked to me, I nodded. His voice over the microphone carried calm authority. Due to a funding issue, reception services are suspended pending replacement payment. I stood by the door, not center stage. The ballroom murmured, then rippled like silk in wind. Forks stopped clinking. Chairs shifted. Somewhere, Sable's earlier live stream replayed on a guest's phone. I didn't move. I stayed where policy lives, half in shadow, holding the papers that spoke for themselves. 2 vendors spotted me through the glass. I mouthed, "You're covered." They nodded and began dismantling the stage. Calm and proud. Security created a quiet path for staff to exit untouched. The sound of closing cases felt like music after months of noise. I called housekeeping to confirm boxed meals for the night crew. "Yes, ma'am," came the reply. Leaf signed the memo with slow gratitude. Garnet radioed from the loading dock. "Team safe. Inventory logged." I heard someone in the lobby whisper, "Who does that?" And another answer, "Someone who paid for it." I didn't need to correct them. The truth had better legs than gossip. Turning to Vera, I said, "Your ledger. Credits by morning. No delays." Her eyes shone without tears, pride cracking in silence. I gathered every document, the threats, the live posts, the PDF ledger, and saved them to my archive. One clean file, one spine. My palms pressed against the folder. Endure, I thought, is not about waiting. It's about staying intact when the room tilts. Then came the hush, near the elevators. Sable appeared, phone raised, face streaked, voice shaking. "Mom," she said, "say it's your fault." I met her gaze. "Put the camera down, Sable. We'll talk where truth can sit." She didn't lower it. The crowd drew closer. I steadied my breath, thumb finding record on my own phone. "If you want the truth," I said, voice steady as marble, "we'll tell it with the ledger open." The ballroom was nearly empty when I stepped away from the marble column. Leaf Hardison stood beside me, clipboard under his arm, face lined with exhaustion. The string quartet had long since packed up. A lone vacuum hummed across the floor, replacing what used to be music. I thanked the staff still wiping tables. One young woman mouthed, "Thank you," as she taped up the last box of leftovers. Vera Linnell approached, her voice thin. "All vendor credits are confirmed." She slid the signed memos across the table. I snapped photos, emailed the PDFs to myself from the hotel kiosk, and double-checked timestamps. My phone vibrated nonstop, 72 missed calls, half from Sable, half from unknown numbers. 2 groomsmen whispered cold-blooded, but a banquet server smiled softly. I told Leaf, "Make sure housekeeping clock's out on time." He nodded, shaking my hand with quiet respect. Out by the valet loop, I breathed in the sticky night air and recorded a voice memo, detailing each event, who said what was signed, and exactly where the line held. By the time I reached the car, social media had already decided it was a scandal. Clips from the suspended reception flashed across feeds with captions like, "Reception canceled and family feud in Charleston." Comments split right down the middle, some angry, others writing, "Sponsor had every right." I screenshotted everything, adding it to a new folder labeled Ballroom Chain of Custody. Vendors began messaging, the florist thanking me for honoring kill fees, the DJ sending his receipts to reconcile against my memo. In a neighborhood group chat, someone wrote, "Isn't that Drusilla from the scholarship board?" And another replied, "She's the reason half those kids go to college." At midnight, Ephraim called from the bank. His tone was steady. "We've processed reversals and archived your threat messages." I thanked him. Minutes later, Vera's systems error email came through. I marked every euphemism in red and replied, "Facts only, no sugar." Home waited in silence, porch light shining over my hydrangeas. I placed the velvet box beside the ledger folder and boiled water for tea. I texted Garnet. "Crew safe." She sent back a picture, staff sitting on crates, eating boxed meals, all smiling. I saved it under staff care. Then I opened a new notebook titled Boundaries Forward. First line, "No more funding where I'm not welcome." I wrote a message to Sable I never sent. "We can talk with paper open and voices low." I knelt beside my bed, thanking God for working hands and praying my daughter's heart might wake before pride hardened it. 2 alarms set, 6:30 for legal calls, 7 Gaur for a morning walk. The body needs order when the soul shakes. Dawn arrived with coffee and the quiet rhythm of sorting. I created 3 digital folders: threats, finance, defamation. Every screenshot, every memo, filed like a hymn. I called hotel security to log last night's messages and the service door breach. They added witness statements and promised to forward the report. Ephraim called again to confirm enhanced security. I approved new authentication for refunds. I wrote an impact statement. Just facts. No adjectives. Time, place, words. Clean enough for a judge to read. I drafted Sable's retraction notice, listing each false claim and a 48-hour correction deadline. Then I photographed every memo in daylight. No glare. No shadows. Paper tells its story best when it's clean. Next came the hard part, the law. I filed a police report online, uploading screenshots, attaching the threat chain, and receiving a case number within minutes. I assembled the civil harassment packet, the hotel log, the text records, my declaration. I emailed Sable's defamation letter, tone even, precise. Statements A, B, C are false and harmful. Please retract by 10 a.m. Tuesday. I blind copied Ephraim, paper trail, not revenge. A new auto reply blinked from Vera's inbox, confirming receipt. On my dining table, packets lined up in perfect order, the house now a courtroom in miniature. The silence around them felt like balance. Before noon, my phone lit up again. Sable had gone live. Face tearful, voice trembling. My mom sabotaged my wedding. I jotted the timestamp, archived the link. But this time, the comments shifted. One of my former scholarship students wrote, "Ms. Marchand paid my tuition gap. If she says paper matters, paper matters." A church friend offered to post a statement. I said, "No mobs, just truth." I texted a vendor, "Get home safe, wash your hands, rest." Small decency after a long storm. Another message came from the groom's cousin. "You did this to hurt her?" I ignored it. Boundaries, stay boundaries. Then I stepped outside, walking the block, morning sun on porches, barking dogs, quiet greetings. Sometimes peace isn't quiet, it's a choice. By evening, I sent one last text to Sable. "We can meet with Leif's report and Vera's memos on the table. We talk, no cameras." She replied with a gossip link I didn't open. I answered once. Truth and respect, those are my terms. I listed 3 topics if she ever agreed: her words at the door, her public lies, and our future boundaries with money and name. Then I turned off the phone, started a pot of collard greens, and let the smell of home remind me I was still here. The house exhaled with me. An hour later, a court portal email arrived, temporary hearing set for Monday, 9 to 9 a.m. I stared at the clock, steady hands, clear minutes, then a text from Sable. "So we're really doing court? See you there. Mom." The word mom hit like both a bruise and a seed. I replied once, "Bring your truth in your paper." Then I powered the phone off, placed the summons on top of the ledger, and whispered, "This time, I don't leave the room." The courthouse smelled faintly of old coffee and printer ink. I arrived early, documents neatly stacked in my leather folder, Leif Hardison's incident report, Vera Linnell's memos, and the bank confirmations from Ephraim Colburn. I checked in with the clerk, slipped my evidence packet under the plexiglass, and sat down on a hard wooden bench. The morning hum carried soft echoes of footsteps and whispers. I took a slow sip from the courthouse coffee, reading my 2 sentences of relief sought: truth in record, protection by law. When Sable walked in, she looked smaller than I remembered, white blazer, hair pinned too tight, eyes fixed anywhere but mine. Her friend held up a phone, red light blinking. The bailiff called our names. The judge's voice was dry but even. "We're here for facts, not family therapy." When I took the stand, I spoke simply, dates, times. Words said at the ballroom door, the revoked sponsorship, the threats. No drama, just receipts. The judge asked about the live stream. Sable hesitated, then said it was heat of the moment. I handed the judge my retraction demand and time-stamped screenshot. He nodded once, almost tired. I felt my breath even out, like the room had found its balance again. The ruling came quicker than I expected. The judge issued a temporary protection order, no contact, no doxing, 100-yard distance. "Internet," he said, "is still real life." His words hung like scripture. He ordered all defamatory posts removed and corrected within 48 hours, warning that failure meant sanctions. Then he turned to Sable. "You cannot humiliate a parent and expect applause. Consequences follow choices." When the gavel struck, I simply said, "Yes, Your Honor," and gathered my papers. In the hallway, I caught Sable's shoulder. "When you're ready to talk like family, I'll be on my porch, paper first, feelings next." Her friend lowered the phone. There wasn't a spectacle left to film, just silence, and the truth standing on its own 2 feet. By noon, Vera posted the hotel's official statement. Sponsor of record, Drusilla Marchand, withdrew funding after being denied entry. Vendors compensated per contract. The local paper picked it up. Comments followed like a tide turning. Boundaries matter. Pay your own party. Ms. Almi Marchand funded our scholarships. Sable deleted her lives, replacing them with one brief message. My statements were inaccurate and hurtful. I'm complying with the court. My phone pinged with messages from my church group offering a prayer circle. I wrote back, "Pray that our mouths and hearts learn to agree." Ephraim emailed next. "Vendor reversals closed. Ledger balanced to the penny." I went to the diner near Broad Street, ordered collards and cornbread. The waitress smiled. "Rough day," I smiled back. "Long one, but clean." That afternoon, I drove to the credit union and signed the founding papers for the House Lights Fund, the recovered balance from the wedding account, plus a match from my savings. It would provide grants for hospitality workers seeking schooling. I slid the velvet watch box across the desk, now addressed to the first recipient. Inside the note, I'd written, "Endure, but not in silence." Later. I met Garnet and her staff to announce the fund. They clapped softly, some crying. No photos, no hashtags, just gratitude. I canceled the quiet escrow once meant for Sable and redirected it to the Community Land Trust's housing fund for single mothers. It wasn't revenge, it was repair. Money should follow integrity, not sentiment. Evening light turned the porch gold. I shelled peas while the crickets started up, my phone face down beside me. A text blinked from Sable. "I'll follow the order. I'm not ready." I typed. Then we're already doing one thing right. I added 3 lines. When you're ready, 1. What happened at the door? 2. What you posted, and 3. What we call respect. Then I placed the phone under the ledger and beside my Bible. 3 kinds of paper, 1 for the law, 1 for the heart, 1 for the truth. I whispered, "Thank you for working hands," thinking of the judge, the staff, even my own. The porch light flickered on, steady, warm, ordinary. Not a beacon for company, but a quiet sign that this home has rules and the woman inside intends to keep them. If she ever knocks one day, truth in one hand and her phone put away in the other, I'll open the door because a boundary isn't a wall, it's a welcome with terms. That night, as thunder rolled over Charleston, a soft knock echoed at my porch door 3 times, deliberate. Through the glass, I saw a figure holding a folder stamped with my late husband's initials. My breath caught. He'd been gone 15 years. So why was his signature still moving through the world?